title is indeed, Does Scarcity Exist? And to tell you why I chose this title, I like to go back into my life, because I started out as an entrepreneur. I used to be a CEO of a real estate development company. I worked in that company from '64 to roughly 1980. So I know very well what it is to think that there is scarcity and that you need to compete. I did that until 1980-82 roughly. We built shopping centers, houses, apartment buildings, recreational parks, a soccer stadium we did. And then it was in the early 80s that I thought, why am I sitting in a chair where so many other people would like to sit while the world is on fire? So I joined Red Cross as a volunteer, and it's interesting that the subject of water came up earlier this morning because I had the privilege to work at Red Cross between 1983 and 1986 as the head of the Child Alive program, which aims to reduce child mortality and morbidity related to the dehydration that goes with diarrhea. At that stage, 5 million children died of that cause. And so we had a wonderful team, and when I started, we worked we started out from scratch, and when I finished, we worked in 17 countries, and it's now in more than 100 countries all over the world that this program has affected millions and millions of people. And the death has gone down from 5 to 2.5 million now. But what I learned at Red Cross were two things. One is that so many people want to help and were full of stress, and I was one of them, and what they were actually doing, they exported their own stress. And when you go into vulnerable areas and you have not looked at your own stress, you risk that you affect the people over there with your own stress. So that made me think deep in myself, can I really do this? I really want to work on myself. And so I went through several healing processes, and one of those healing processes brought me into an experience that really was life-changing. I got to a healer, and this was in Switzerland, and he said he would treat me with my minusculous portion of condensed nutmeg. So he gave me that minusculous portion of condensed nutmeg, which I drank with lots of water, and I was given a lot of vegetables. And I needed to go afterwards in a hot bath, and I got a very intense and deep massage. And what happened after that massage, my awareness opened up to a sensation that I've never experienced before. It was like having super clarity, being able to look beyond the walls where I was. And I gave an example. I knew that a lady friend of ours broke her collarbone on the slopes, and that she would be at the door in 10 minutes, and in exactly 10 minutes, she was at the doorstep. So I found myself in one way connected to a source of information which I cannot explain, but the information was in a way given to me. And on the other hand, my feeling was wide open. I mean, many of us can relate to an orgasm, but this was an orgasm that goes beyond the skin, through the whole and all, while in the meantime being superbly clear. So, yeah, that happened to a businessman, a man that worked at Red Cross. So I start to wonder, how did this happen? Yeah, it must have been a kind of special substance in that condensed nutmeg. And by the way, the guy that helped me, the healer, he said, this is an invention of Jonas Salk, and I treat him with the same stuff. Until the day now I do not really know what it was, but it was one of the several experiences that I have had since, not with this stuff, but also spontaneously from time to time. So what does this have to do with scarcity? It felt in a way, one of these experiences was that I walked through the curtain of time and space and went into infinity. Because what really happened is it was an endless feeling of bliss on one end, with superb clarity. Wherever I wanted to go with my mind, I could go, and the information was right there. So that gave me lots of things to think about. And that led me to come, as a non-scientist, to a certain theory. And I would love to share in a few minutes the theory with you. And then I come to the subject of scarcity. So it made me realize we live in time and space, the finite, but somewhere there is infinity. So there is infinity, so I saw that the infinite can encompass the finite and inspire and transpire it. And in the meantime, the other way around, it is not possible. Then I started to think what in essence is time and space. How big it is, it doesn't matter, but what is the essence of time and space? Well, matter. But what is matter in essence, when you look deep into it, it's resistance. It's a form, being it strong or not strong, or very subtle, a form of resistance. What is resistance? Plus, minus, giving, receiving, thinking, feeling, physical power, the power of vulnerability, or the power of silence, always in pairs, the male and the female principle. So, from that understanding, I came back to look at the world, and I was trying to see if there is that kind of balance. No, I saw the physical power and the power of the intellect we have put on a pedestal. The power of talking on a pedestal. But the power of being vulnerable, of intuition, feeling, and silence, where is it? It's meant to work together. It are two parts of the same coin. So the essence I came to see is that we need to balance the functional male with the functional female principle. Talk and silence, listening. Thinking, the intellect and the feeling. By the way, both are instruments to access information. The intellect is very popular because we can express information in all kinds of equations and get priorities and order them. And that's what the mind loves to do. But the heart, the feeling, if we hear a violin play, it gives us information instantaneous. Something vibrates or resonates from the bass or the violin in my own instrument, and it gives me instantaneous information. So there are two ways of getting information on which basis we can make choices. We are not trained in the second one. We just take it as a kind of secondary, not so very interesting. But my point is, I think we have together to look at how we can help in forgiveness to rebalance the male and the female principle. Now going to scarcity. Scarcity is taught as the principle underlying economics. They say the assumption is there's scarcity. So what do people when there's scarcity? They start to compete. When people compete, they exclude. So when I look at the whole time-space system, I see the reality is an all-inclusive system where there's a dance of, call it atoms, molecules, being a dance or in cell fields, they all are in it together. So an all-inclusive system apparently has one globe, and I heard Satish say 7 billion expressions of life, of which one being the humans, and they have a deep misunderstanding. They exclude. So what they do, they take an interest of a certain group together, and they make advantages for that certain group, excluding the other part. Now, if we look at reality, it's so beautiful. God gave us a round planet where we all can take part in gravity. Science says that is a given. I may say, is it perhaps a gift? A gift for which we can be grateful, that shifts us from the mind, the left or right I always forget, but the rational mind to the feeling part. And if we see it as a given and a gift, we come from a different place. We can be more quiet, we can be more calm and considerate with oneself and with the others. It's so beautiful. A long time ago, I heard somebody say, do you know the origin of tennis, the tennis game? So the origin of tennis game was, I play the ball to Deepak, and Deepak plays the ball to me, and we played in such a way that he can stretch and I can stretch. What it basically does, it mimics the idea of plus minus. We're in it together, we are playful, and we try to do the continuum. Now, I don't know if you've seen it, but what they do these days, there's one person playing to the other, and the person that breaks that cycle that we are doing, that person gets a point. So the person that tries to exclude, starts to exclude, they call it a winner, that person we put on a pedestal. So there's a winner and there's a loser. But is that and I asked this to the scientists, in time and space, is that a reality? Is this not an idea to have a winner and a loser? I think we're in it together, so I would like to say, can we rephrase and can we see it in this way? Instead of competing, that life is about comparing with care in order to share with care. And when I say compare, I mean we have a choice. We have a choice to make every day. And if we take things away from the planet, and we of course many geniuses, we make products, all kind of minerals and other stuff we bring together into products. We have to always think there comes a day that this product goes out of function and that it needs to be recycled according to the natural laws. And as we all see, yes, through competition we create wonderful things, and wonderful things not for the many, but alas, for the privileged. Many people have hunger, as we know. Many people have not even access to water, as we have heard this morning. So I would like to ask you, Deepak is going to take that initiative. Just, what is the initiative? Just capital? What did you say?
Just capital.
Just capital. It might perhaps be an idea to bring scientists and business people together and see if we can, with a different attitude, if we can help and change our economics so that we do not need to exclude people, but that we can include people. To finalize, I want to share a deep conviction with you. And that conviction is, when I had that experience deep in the 80s and also in the 90s, I felt that the real purpose for all of us in life is to learn about love. And what is consciousness in relation to love? I think the idea is here that we are brought into the time-space box, not only to learn sequentially, but also to learn transcendental. Not only think, but allow ourselves to be thought, so that in the end, our will is completely in line with the infinite will that has placed us in time and space, in togetherness. So, yes, the way to go might be to develop our consciousness towards an understanding, and I mean literally to stand under, and experience unconditional love and share that with one another. And what's the little fun thing about this whole idea of being here on the planet, I think? And God had a sense of humor, I think. You may have heard that line, love is letting go of fear. Jerry Jampolsky is one of the guys. A good friend of mine who's the guy who mentioned it all the time. Where there's love, there is no fear. And where there's fear, there is no love. But back to the essence of time and space, resistance. So, isn't resistance the same thing as fear? So, the fun, I think, in God's humoristic sense, is He placed us in resistance, in fear, in matter, in order to learn about love, the paradox. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Frank.